Hello, friends, and welcome to the Friends and Fiction Show Behind the Book with four New York Times bestselling authors and endless stories. I am Patti Callahan Henry.
And I'm Mary Kay Andrews.
And on behalf of Kristin Harmel and Kristen Woodson Harvey, yeah,
Say that again.
yeah, exactly. Kristy Woodson Harvey, our other two hosts, we are excited to welcome you to a special episode of Friends and Fiction Shows Behind the Book. This is a quicker, deeper dive into the life and work of some of our very favorite authors. And today, we are bringing back a fan favorite, Sheila Roberts, to talk about her newest novel, The Best Life Book Club. I was lucky to get an early copy, and I'm here to tell you, you do not want to miss this.
Now, Sheila Roberts is a USA Today and Publishers Weekly bestselling author and fan favorite. She has almost 50, that's 50 books to her credit. Under different names, she's written Regency romance, as well as devotionals and personal development books. She did lots of things before settling into her writing career, including owning a singing telegram company and playing in a band. She claims her band days are over, but she still enjoys writing songs. Her novel, On Strike for Christmas, was a Lifetime Network movie, and her novel, The 9 Lives of Christmas, was made into a movie for the Hallmark Channel. When she's not speaking to women's groups or hanging out with her husband or her girlfriends, like us, she can be found, writing about those things near and dear to women's hearts: family, friends, and chocolate. Also me.
Ditto.
Yeah. Sheila divides her time between Washington State and California.
Where are you right now, Sheila? Which one?
We are in lovely, green, often rainy Washington State. And today the sun is actually out. I'm very excited. So we might almost be out of winter clothes weather here. So yay.
That's awesome. All right, everyone. So the Best Life Book Club, which is about a group of women who embark on a literary journey that changes their life. When I was lucky enough to get an early read, I told the truth. And this is what I said. This book has a set of characters so vivid that we want to be their best friends. And it has a story that keeps us turning the pages. The Best Life Book Club is your book club book of the year, a novel of pure delight. And I love Sheila's tagline on her website: read Sheila for a good time. So now let's talk to her instead of about her. Welcome, Sheila.
Oh, you guys, thank you for having me. This is kind of like getting to go see Santa Claus, only you guys are skinny. But that's kind of the thing. It's like, oh my gosh, I get to be on Friends and Fiction. It's like, that's kind of like every author's dream these days, is to get to hang out with you guys. So I am really excited to be here. I'm going to try and curb my enthusiasm and be ladylike. But theoretically, I should be going,
There's no curbing done here.
Oh, good. No curbing done. That was good. Then,
Oh. Okay. Woo! Okay. We are so excited you're here to share your new work. We just told everyone who's listening what it's about, but I want you to add anything you'd like, and also a Friends and Fiction favorite question. What would you say the book is really about?
Wow. Well, this book, as you mentioned, is about four women who end up being thrown together by life circumstances and decide to start a book club. And of course, each is going to have a different storyline and a different life adventure and a different lesson to learn. And I guess that brings me to, what is this book really about? I would say this book really is about personal growth and development and learning important life lessons and learning to live your best life, because we don't always do that. And sometimes I think we need, well, like the Beatles said, we need a little help from our friends to get there and get that best life. So that's kind of the underlying thing: personal growth, learning to let go of grudges, learning to forgiveness, and also just learning to really appreciate who we are. So that's probably it in a nutshell.
That's a great sounding nutshell. Tell us more about the origin of this book, that little spark when you thought, yeah, that's my next book, and it will be around a book club, and how that changes us. Was there a aha moment?
I don't know. I bet this happens for you guys too. Sometimes an idea just plops into your brain. And I remember thinking, a book club. Well, I'm in a book club. I have some people with problems. What if I put them all together in a book club? And so that's kind of how it came about. I've been in the book club that I'm in for several years now. And one of the things I have appreciated about that is that it expanded my horizons. I wound up reading things that I never would have picked. And a really good example, this was early on when I was in the book club. Do you guys remember? Well, yeah, I'm sure you do, because it was recently a movie, the book, The Boys in the Boat.
Yes.
Remember that? And our little leader picked that. And I'm like, I don't want to read a book about rowing. Why do I want to read a book about rowing? And then that turned out to be one of my favorite books. I loved that book. And it's something I would not have picked up if not for the influence of some other readers. So I think there's a lot of value in book clubs.
And
yeah, I remember when my book club, one of our first picks when we first got started was The Red Tent.
The Red Pet?
No, The Red Tent.
The Red. Oh, I remember that book.
Yeah, Anita Diamond. And that is not a book I ever would have picked. I mean, it's about Esther and the Bible. And by the end of it, I was so grateful that my book club, we're picking things, not just off the front of the store.
Yeah. It's important. And, it's so supportive of writers too. So a quick shout out to book clubs. I know there are a lot of you out there around the country, and we appreciate the fact that you are keeping reading healthy and alive. So
Definitely.
book clubs are serving our whole writing community in so many ways.
Yeah.
And that's the word, community. So we talked about how I believed I wanted to be friends with all of these women. And I think Carissa really drives this novel. Her husband has cheated on her with her best friend, and she needs a change, and she runs away from Seattle. If you were to describe her to us, how would you talk about her? How would you introduce her to all of us?
Carissa, I think there's a lot of all of us in Carissa, hopefully not the cheating husband part. I mean, could I have been any meaner to a character? Good heavens.
I know.
But that whole kind of lack of confidence in who we are and our looks. I want to ask you guys this. Have you ever met a woman who said, I love the way I look. I love everything about myself? Do you know what you have? You have not, because she's a magic unicorn.
Like a 5-year-old,
maybe.
I'm beautiful.
Yeah, but grown women, I mean, it's like, oh, I don't like my hair. My hair is too straight. My hair is too curly. My boobs are too big. My boobs are too small. I hate my nose. I hate my lips. I don't think we ever sit down and say, here's what I really love about the way that I was made. We don't do that. And it's sad, and we should. And so Carissa, I think I liked her journey because I identified with that. I suffer from ugly duckling waiting to become a swan syndrome, and I'm still waiting for the swan moment. And finally it was like, well, Sheila, get over yourself. Your husband thinks you're cute, so who cares what anybody else thinks, right? Of course I still would like a nose job. Just a little no, but we're not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because my nose works just fine. And so I think that storyline really spoke a lot to me of all the characters, and then also, and I'm maybe getting ahead of things you want to ask me, but since we're talking about character development, the other one was our character Josie, and the whole kind of this fight thing that's going on with a relationship with her and her daughter. It's so easy for us as women. We tend to get a little bit grudge holding-y. There, I just made up a whole new phrase, grudge holding-y. Anyway, I think that tends to be a feminine specialty. I don't want to sound sexist, but I think some of us have elevated that to a high art. And I think it's so important to let go of those grudges and that animosity and be forgiving of each other, because we all benefit. And the person who benefits the most when we finally forgive someone is, moi. So I think that's hopefully those two messages will maybe inspire women who are reading the book to go, yeah, I'm going to make some changes here. I'm going to maybe have an attitude adjustment. Anyway.
And how would you introduce Margot and Alice? How would you describe them?
Oh, golly. Alice, Alice is a very interesting little character. She's had some issues to deal with, and is is having trouble getting behind the wheel of a car without having a panic attack. And so, of course, Alice is going to have her journey and come out ahead. And then Margot, of course, and I know that's happened to a lot of us. You know, you climb the ladder to a certain level and then you get knocked off it and you're going, what happened to me? What am I doing here? And now how do I restart my life? And what am I going to do? You know, how am I going to earn a living? And I suspect that a lot of people will be able to identify with what Margot's going through and maybe be inspired to get out there and say, okay, I'm going to pick myself up and I'm going to do that fill in the blank that I always wanted to do.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, after that terrible betrayal we talked about earlier, Carissa's left Seattle and she's moved into a new neighborhood. And so often pieces of our lives make their way into a novel. You and your husband have moved a number of times. Did you find it difficult to make new friends? I know that I moved to Raleigh, almost 25 years ago after living in my Atlanta neighborhood for so many years. And because I'm a writer, when I got to Raleigh, I had one friend and she was also a writer. It was hard to make new friends, right? Did you have that same issue?
Well, you know, I'm a bit of an extrovert, and so I can't stand to not have somebody to play with. So my way I would operate is make the first move. And so, especially a couple of times we were building, and I thought, oh, these poor people, now they got to put up with hammers and stuff. So I would kind of traipse around the neighborhood with bribery. I would give them a book and like chocolate. It's like, please love me, here's some chocolate. So that was often a good opening, you know, or I'd have somebody over for coffee or whatever. And I think that sometimes that's a really good way to get plugged into a new neighborhood. Also, when we were house hunting, especially this last house hunt, this is it, I'm not moving again. I keep saying that, but I'm not moving again. Anyway, when we moved in, I always like to kind of check out the neighbors. You can do a lot to fix up your house, but there's not a lot you can do to fix up your neighbor. So it's kind of fun if you can meet the neighbors ahead of time. And this one house that we're in now, we came back about 3 different times looking at it, trying to decide, do we really want to buy this? And the neighbor was out working outside. And so I would just like bend his ear and ask about the neighborhood and how do you like it here? And I think that just helps. So, you know, I guess if you're moving into a new neighborhood and you're going, how are we going to meet somebody? Chocolate is always the answer, right?
Now you tell me.
But you're right, it is hard when you're a writer and you're busy and you're working full time and you're traveling, and it's very, very hard. But I think in your case, your biggest problem would be fighting off people like me, the germs. Do you guys know what a germ is?
No,
by
no.
any chance? This was a really old Nashville term used for people who are such fans that they would just glom all over you and they would germ you, and they'd call them germs. And I think for you guys, because you are now like super duper famous, I think the hardest thing would be having somebody who just, well, I just want to like touch, I just want to touch her. You know, I just want to say I know her. And then you kind of got him, well, are you really willing to hang out with me because you want to hang out with me? Or are you hanging out with me because you're a germ? So I think that would be a problem for you guys.
No, it's not,
No.
but it would be for you if it was for us.
Right. Patti and I both moved.
Frequently to avoid the germs? No, I'm just kidding.
No, moved during and you're right.
For our husbands' jobs, really.
Yeah. And we both moved when our kids were in high school. So I moved here to Birmingham when when my daughter had already graduated.
Oh, that's hard.
We're in 7th and 10th grade. And I've been here 13 years and people say, hey, you just moved here, didn't you? I'm like,
oh, yeah. That's so hard. Well, because we often meet people through our kids or through school. And once the kids are grown, then it gets a little harder, you know? So, and especially because not everybody is a let's party together kind of person. And I think sometimes for most writers, we tend to be a little bit more inward and thought focused and introverted. And so it's really hard, you know, if you don't happen to be a party kind of person, it can be very hard to get out there, put yourself out there and meet people. Not that you guys aren't.
Chris's example. So
yeah, now we know the secret is chocolate.
You're right.
All right. So all the novels you quote from in the book are fictitious, except Jane Eyre. How did Jane Eyre make the cuts?
I know. How bizarre is that, isn't it? I sure had fun coming up with all those books and quotes, though. But Jane Eyre, there's a bit of a shadow of the Jane Eyre story in the book with the relationship of Carissa and her mysterious boss, who is just kind of this kind of sad, withdrawn guy. And she's put as the mystery of this man. And so that's all I'm going to say about that. But I am going to say, did you guys fall very in love with reading Jane Eyre when you were young women? I mean, I did, but were you into Jane Eyre?
I didn't read it till later. Yeah.
Okay, well, I just thought, oopsie, there it goes. There went the nose itch. My nose always itches while I'm online. Why is that? Anyway, I remember reading that book. Oh, Jane Eyre. I have like every movie version. And it's only been recently that I thought, wait a minute, what the heck? This guy locks his mad wife away in another part of the building. What is this about? And so I'm not quite as fond of Jane Eyre as I once was, because how rude is that? But anyway, and I'll tell you a quick story. This is very interesting in my family. We had a bit of a Jane Eyre situation. Now, I'll tell you, my parents were older, quite a bit older, because my brothers were 13 and a half and 17 when I was born. And of course, I'm not exactly young. So I'm going back, trying to backtrack time-wise with grandma. So grandma and grandpa, that must have been, I don't know, before World War I, somewhere around in there. But anyway, so moving right along with the story, we're taking a little family road trip with myself, brother and his wife, and my cousin, and mom and dad. And we go to Butte, Montana, and we stop and we go to this kind of this building, this unimpressive building, and they wheel this little old lady out and go, "This is your grandmother." And I'm going, oh, no. My grandmother lives with us. I don't know who this lady is. It was not my grandma, because my father always said, I lost my mother at a young age. And that was all we knew about grandma. Well, it turns out that grandma had some problems, and she had a whole bunch of little kids in a row. Her husband moved her out to the prairie, and I guess people used to go mad out there in the wilds and the prairie. The wind, something about the wind would just drive them around the bend. And I think she had some kind of a mental, emotional breakdown. And so grandpa put her someplace. Well, my dad, as a kid, they'd tell everybody, "Our mother's dead, our mother's dead." Well, finally they thought mom was well, so they bring mom home. She comes after my aunt with a carving knife, so mom has to go back, or mom's dead again, and so this is the history. And I have to
writing this book.
I know. How bizarre is this? I mean, oh my gosh, it was such a shock to learn all this. And of course, my father never said anything, because back then there was a stigma if you had mental or emotional problems. It was, you didn't talk about it, you hid it.
After somebody with a carving knife.
Well, yeah. I mean, you just hid this stuff, and so nobody found out about that. And meanwhile, grandpa finally moves on and marries the wicked stepmother. And I was just the other day talking with my brother, going, do you think he even divorced her? I have this suspicion that maybe grandpa was a bigamist because grandpa's stuck away somewhere. So anyway, but I have a very interesting family tree. And I always think it's interesting when you have skeletons in the closet, because it makes it so interesting when you open the closet. So now you all had a peek in my closet. I hope you're impressed. But it doesn't run in the family. So far as I know, I'm still sane. So I think I'm good.
Well, that's how we got Jane Eyre in the novel. So
Jane Eyre in the novel.
I mean, sanity is just a relative thing. Relatively sane, relatively normal. Now, Sheila, your husband's also a novelist. What's that like, having two novelists in the family? I mean, is there coffee pot always on? What kind of writing schedule do you keep? And are you involved in any way in each other's work?
Yeah, my husband only in the last few years decided he was going to write a book. He's self-published so far. I'm hoping at some point we'll find a publisher for him. But it's been very interesting, because he writes historical novels. And, if you write, Patti, the whole historical thing, you love to do that research and dig in. And oh my gosh, he just wanted to dump every bit of research he'd ever done into this book. And meanwhile, the whole plot has taken a standstill. And so we would get in these very passionate discussions about because I'm the expert, what I thought he should be cutting out of his book. And he'd have all his reasons why this should be, and people need to know this. And so that has been an interesting part of our adventure together, both being writers. And of course, he serves as a copy editor for me and tries to catch, I don't know if you ever get through a book and there's not some kind of boo-boo. It seems like I'm always misnaming somebody.
And sometimes barely noticeable, but there is always something.
It's embarrassing. We try, readers. We really try, but it's just hard to things slip by. But anyway, so that's kind of how that works with us.
Now, do you hash out plot points and stuff over the breakfast table, or do you each go to your corner?
No, in my perfect world, he would thoroughly discuss his plots with me, and we would outline this stuff because I am a planner, I'm a plotter, and he just goes wandering off into the thicket, and it makes me just crazy, and he just not listen.
I could never write with my husband next. No, I know Mary Kay, you couldn't either. No way.
No, I married on purpose. Well, I was in.
I'm glad to hear that. That you married on purpose.
I went to journalism school, and I was already in. My boyfriend became my husband, and so we were already an item when I went off to college, and all these people that dated other journalism students, I knew even at 19, this is a bad plan, but
bad idea.
Yeah. We need the right brain and the left brain in my house. And so we try to stay in our lanes. And when he gets into my lane, things get a little testy. And same with me. If I get into his lane, like he's the gardener, I get told very quickly, shut up.
Oh my God. I love that. Well, I will say my husband is just amazing. He is a partner in the business. He handles so many of our travel arrangements. He helps me pack up books and goodies and all kinds of things, and comes online with me sometimes. And so it's great to have him that way. Which side of us is not creative? Which is the practical? Is that the right brain? Left brain? I don't know what side it is. But that side, the side that can balance the checkbook, he's that side. So he handles all our finances for the business and everything. Yeah. If I handled our finances, we would be like living in our car. So it's a really good thing that he handles the finances.
Yeah, I told my husband early on, I am not balancing the checkbook. And P.S., you don't want me to balance the checkbook. Yeah. All right. I have one more thing I wanted to ask you about. I know you've got a great group of incredible writing group pals in the Pacific Northwest, including Kristin Harmel. Tell us about all those ladies. How do they affect your work? Are you on a text chain like we are?
I wish we were. And some of us used to be in a critique group together. In fact, Susan Wiggs and I used to boat across the sound to where our critique group met. It was very fun. But everybody has gotten so busy and scattered in so many ways. It's very hard to keep that up. Some of us are trying to get together on a monthly basis now, which is really fun. And that's great. When we can make it work, it's really fun to stay connected to my writing buddies. And you're right, there are a ton of writers out here in the Northwest. The woods is full of us.
The woods. It's like writers coming out of the woodlands. Like
that's about it. We've got, of course,
there's one, there's another one. They're all coming out now.
Oh, they're everywhere. Like you said, we have Kristin, we have Marie Bostwick, Rachel Linden, we have Debbie Maycumber, we have Susan Wiggs, we have Jill Barnett. There are so many writers out here. It's just crazy.
And Susan Meisner just moved up there.
Oh yeah, and Susan Mallory, and there's I can't even list them all. That's how many there are.
Right, Megan Chance and
Megan Chance.
Jane Ann Krantz and
Jane Ann Krantz. Yeah,
it's wonderful. What a community you have. I think it's really
there are some wonderful writers out here.
Okay, so back to the Best Life Book Club. Everybody go get it, because the reason we're asking all these questions about friendships and moving and writer pals is because it all comes down to community and how women can come together to build a much better life. So from your social media presence, it's obvious that you enjoy your readers.
I do.
So how can readers join you on the Sheila Roberts High on Life Club? Tell everyone how to find you there and on the road.
Yes. Well, and in fact, we've got my tour schedule up on my Sheila's Place website. So if you want to check that out, that's there. And also I'm on Facebook, on Instagram. Those are my two happy places. Fun with Sheila is the moniker. Everybody needs a slogan, right? I should just be forthright like Mary Kay and say, buy my book. I love that slogan.
You have to have the word, damn it.
Yeah, you have to have
Yeah,
that.
I couldn't quite bring myself to say that part. I'll let Mary Kay say that part.
Okay.
But yeah, so do come and hang out with me. We're always partying or interviewing authors on, like you do, on the Facebook page, the Sheila Roberts writer page. And so that's where I am. So come find me and hang out with me, and we will have fun. And hopefully I'll see some of you when I'm on tour. I'm kind of following the mighty shadow of Mary Kay.
Oh,
So
not at all. Not at all.
Stop. All right, Sheila, thank you so much for being such a wonderful guest today. Thank you for joining us.
We love
thank
having
you. Thank you for
all-
having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. For all of you out there, don't forget to tune in every Wednesday night right here on Facebook or YouTube for brand new, longer form content about the books, authors, and the reading and writing worlds. You can find everything about the Friends in Fiction universe, from the live show to the podcast, the newsletter to events, information about how to purchase our guest books, to updates from the Friends in Fiction official book club on our website, friendsinfiction.com. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone. See you next time.
Thank you.